There was a woman I worked with years ago, back when I was the vice president at a telecommunications company, and long before I ever stood on a stage for a living. I had 5 direct reports, and every morning I'd make my rounds, stop by each office, check in, and, get the day started. This one lady who worked for me was negative, consistently, reliably, and impressively negative. And I eventually figured out that she wasn't just negative, she was prepared. She would actually rehearse her response to, "How you doing?" She had her answer ready before I even walked through the door. One morning I walked into her office and she had this smirk on her face, like she'd come up with a really good answer. And I knew if I asked how she was doing, I was going to hand her exactly what she wanted, so I didn't ask. Instead, I looked at her and said, "Tell me something good." I have no idea where it came from. Maybe I'd heard Shaka Khan on the radio on my morning commute. Genuinely don't know. What I do know is that it stopped her cold. And I started using it every day, as a greeting, as a redirect, as a way of setting the tone before negativity could get a foothold. That was almost 30 years ago. Long before I was a speaker, long before there was a brand or a program or a book. Now, fast forward to early 2020. COVID hits, and suddenly, the stages disappear. I'd been delivering the Tell Me Something Good message for 25 years, and overnight, that platform was gone. I did some virtual events, but if you've ever tried to create energy through a camera into a laptop screen, you know it's not the same. Doable, but not the same. Here's the thing I hadn't admitted to myself until then. I'd never written the book. Not because I didn't believe in the message. I'd been living it for decades. But I was busy, and honestly, I didn't think there was a book there. I thought it was just a phrase, just a greeting. And then the pandemic happened, and the whole world seemed to collectively decide to be as negative as possible. And I had time, real time, for the first time in years. So I started asking myself a bigger question. Not just, what if you asked people to tell you something good, but what if there was an entire approach to overcoming negativity? What if the phrase wasn't the message? What if it was just one piece of something bigger? That question is what became the book. The Tell Me Something Good book is almost 3 decades in the making, compressed into a framework that I genuinely believe can change the way you move through the world. The fact that this book exists at all, that it took a pandemic to slow me down long enough to write it, that means something to me. Sometimes the things that feel like they're taking something away from you are actually clearing space for something you didn't know you needed to build. That's the story behind Tell Me Something Good.